John Newton was born in 1725 in Wapping, a district in London near the Thames. His father was a shipping merchant who was brought up as a Catholic but had Protestant sympathies, and his mother was a devout independent, unaffiliated with the Anglican Church. She had intended Newton to become a clergyman, but she died of tuberculosis when Newton was 6 years old. For the next few years, while his father was at sea, Newton was raised by his emotionally distant stepmother, Mrs. Newman, who was a loving Christian mother indeed, who took a vital interest in his son. But she was chronically ill and physically weak. He was sent to a boarding school where he was mistreated. At the age of 11, John followed in his father's footsteps and became a cabin boy on a ship. As a teenager, Newton was hard drinking and ill-tempered because he was in bad companions. His public brawls were legendary. He could often be found either in jail or in a ship's brig. Newton describes himself as a godless monster. As a youth, Newton began a pattern of coming very close to death, examining his relationship with God, then relapsing it into bad habits. He denounced his fate as he was in with bad companions who misled him terribly. In a series of letters, Newton later wrote, "Like an unwary sailor who quits his port just before a rising storm, I renounced the hopes and comforts of the gospel at the very time when every other comfort was about to fail me." His disobedience caused him to be pressed into the Royal Navy. He deserted the Navy to visit Mary Polycartlet, a family friend with whom he had fallen in love. After enduring humiliation for deserting the ship, he was traded as a crew to a slave ship. By 1745, Newton was enlisted in the slave trade, running captured slaves from Africa to Charleston, SC. Newton married Mary Cartlet in 1750. In 1758, Newton was reading a book titled The Imitation of Christ by Thomas A. Kempis. This was the time a major turning point occurred in his life. He was so engrossed in the book that he did not notice an approaching storm until it was too late. Newton really believed that his shipmates and him and the ship would not survive the storm because the storm was indeed terrible. When others cursed and cried, Newton thought back on his own miserable life. He then thought about the only one who had really loved him, his Christian mother, and how disappointed she would be. Holding onto a rope, Newton fell to his knees and prayed. He promised that if God would give him a second chance, he would become a moral man. Miraculously, and by the grace of God, no lives were lost in the storm, and the damaged ship was able to complete its journey and deliver its cargo. For the first time, when Newton was given his share of the profits, he did not seek out a bar to celebrate. Instead, he returned to his ship and read the Bible. But it took time to develop the qualities of a good Christian in him. As a changed man, he accepted the helm of a ship bound for Africa. This time, he encouraged the sailors under his charge to pray rather than taunt them for their beliefs. He also began to ensure that every member of his crew treated their human cargo with gentleness and concern. During this period, he suffered from illnesses, including stroke. At this point, he left his ship career. During this time, he had become friends with George Whitefield and John Wesley, the great preachers of the past. In 1764, he was ordained as an Anglican priest and wrote over 280 hymns to accompany his services. He used to do this for various prayer meetings with the help of William Cowper. John Newton was an Anglican priest in England. In 1772-1773, when he debuted a hymn to his congregation called Faith's Review and Expectation, what we today call as Amazing Grace. He did it on 1st of January 1773 morning as he preached about his life's testimony, all what had occurred in his life. He completed his message by singing an autobiographical song, the same hymn that we today call as Amazing Grace, with this stanza which has been forgotten now. In evil long I took delight, unawed by shame or fear, till a new object struck my sight and stopped my vile career. Amazing Grace, which first appeared in the Olney hymns printed by Newton and his fellow writer William Cowper. It was later set to the popular tune New Britain in 1835 by William Walker. Amazing Grace does not just end here, it has a deeper history than this. This song is a well-known anthem of the civil rights movement, the Civil War and the Vietnam War. Martin Luther King Jr. also sang this song before giving his I Ever Dream speech. It was sung with great delight after Nelson Mandela was released from prison. In Germany too, the music was tuned in the air when the Berlin Wall fell. It was sung and is being sung a number of times to comfort people. This was not the end. In 1788, Newton was filled with a burden to abolish slave trade, of which he was a part in the past. Hence, he published a pamphlet called Thought upon the Slave Trade, in which he had exaggerated all the horrifying facts of the trade. With the help of his friend William Wilberforce, who was a politician and MP at the time, under his leadership, the English civil government outlawed slavery in Great Britain in 1807, and Newton lived to see it, dying in December of that year. At the age of 82, he breathed his last with the following words: "My memory is nearly gone, but I remember two things, that I am a great sinner and that Christ is a great Savior." Indeed, John Newton. Thank you. Stay tuned. God bless.